ask you guys just before we go. First, are there any other like pressing questions anybody feels like they can get?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm just curious. So both of my kids are in college, so we've been through the whole, we're past the all the stage. And I'm curious, and I'm surprised this hasn't come up, but from a technology perspective and how things have, I mean, my kids grew up in where social media became popular, you know, all the things, and we were trying to keep up and catch up and all of that sort of thing. And I'm curious what recommendations you can give parents, especially with AI, and I'm starting to see the articles come out in some of the mainstream media around its impact on adolescents and their mental health and all of that. So I'm just curious if there are any recommendations that you all have around that for parents, just generally.
In regards to length and time, or how to monitor, or any of the
Generally.
above? Just a
Yeah.
general question. I love that. Yeah. I feel like my word of the day is curious, right? Like to be and see what they're doing, see what they're involved with. Anything that a person just focuses on for a really long time can, too much of a good thing can be bad, right? Like if you notice those types of things. But there's a lot of positive aspects to AI too, and all those and that technology. But letting them know that we were never really meant to have all that information, like the brain perspective of processing. Like if you expose yourself to so many things, you can overwhelm your brain and your senses to try to navigate and figure it all out. So kind of bringing in that education of what are you feeding your brain, because your brain is a computer, so it's constantly processing. So I speak about that with people who watch the news a lot, or with different things, really getting involved and hyper focusing on one thing where other things disappear, and then that thing can make them more driven with anxiety or depression or something else. So I think the amount of time would definitely be a curiosity of how do you think it's impacting you, asking them and seeing if they can see, like, I noticed that you're paying a lot more attention over here, like, what's that about? Like, you know, how does it make you feel? Like, what are you noticing? Is it changing your mood? Because sometimes people don't notice in that respect. So reflective questions, having them kind of check in on themselves can be helpful.
Concretely speaking, there's some good research suggesting, just generally, and this is not true for everybody, but more than 3 hours a day of intensive screen time is not good, right? It causes some emotional upheaval. Another good rule of thumb is a kid should have 3 to 4 times as much time engaged directly with people as they do on the screen. So if a kid's got 8 hours a day of school, sports practice, playing with friends, 2 hours, you know, on the screen at night, okay, right? That's kind of what, you know, so there's a lot of, a lot of data coming out, and there's a lot of talk about it, right? But those are general guidelines that the research tends to point toward. Now, it's different for boys and girls, and it differs across age. So again, you got to look at your own kid. And the last thing I'll say about that is nothing is all good or all bad. There are some good things about those screens, right? There are kids that are learning things they otherwise wouldn't learn, and some of them are good, right? So, so not to be so hard line on one direction or another is really important.
Yeah, I really like that, because it's not black and white, right? There's
It's not.
so many shades of gray, and it's so complex from so many dimensions. So
Yep.
I really.
In regard to talking about gender and boys and girls and how it's different, what data is there on that? Is it more impactful on boys? I have a little boy and a girl, and my little girl could kind of care less, but my little boy, if I allow him to watch a screen, he is so zoned in and loves it. It's just polar opposite of how they react to technology.
Yeah. It is different with boys and girls when they're little, and then it shifts when they get a little older. So if you look at in adolescence, kids 12 to 17 or so, the amount of screen time that causes symptoms or is associated with symptoms of depression in girls is far less than it takes in boys. Wow. So with girls, pretty much any screen time, when they're about 12, 13 years old, you start to see an increase in the likelihood of depressive symptoms as soon as they are doing pretty much any time on social media. Now, it doesn't get bad until they've done a few hours a day, right? But it starts. Boys seem to be a bit more resistant to it for whatever reason, right? So that's why I said age matters, gender matters, and what they're doing matters. It's different if your screen time is watching a television show versus on social media getting all the critiques that people get. So, but girls are far more susceptible to the negative self-imagery that can happen to kids in social media mediated screen time than boys are, although boys suffer as well.
Interesting.
So if you see that, give room instead of just get off that. You shouldn't be looking at that. That's not you. So if your child comes to you and they say, I'm not pretty, or I feel this, okay, wow, that's a hard thought. Tell me more about that. Because we can sometimes want to jump in and be like, no, you're not. You're beautiful. Look at you, and you're so talented. But then that's not my safe space to tell somebody how I really feel. My feeling got knocked out. And it was unintentional, but that sometimes can be the impact of if every time they come to us with a problem, we don't, sitting with somebody with a problem is really hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I'm a therapist. It could be challenging. I went to school for a reason to learn that skill. So be kind to yourselves. Be kind to yourselves as parents. That's the number one thing, because if you're not kind, then you're going to feel too much pressure, and then that's going to go onto your child. So it's okay. Just I'm doing great. Doing great.
And you don't have to be the fixer.
That's
You
right.
do not have to have all the answers. You can seek help. There's resources out there. So give yourself some grace. It's okay.
Great point.
Two awesome follow-up questions. I'm glad you guys asked. Let me kind of put you guys on the spot a little bit.
Great.
What's something, if a parent is coming into the space